The number of children from mixed-race marriages in the U.S. is on the rise, and racial identity is often an issue for these children and their parents. Alina Adams and her husband, who is African-American, have 3 children and face the identity questions all the time. Alina is a journalist who has written about her firsthand experience, and she's here to talk about it. We welcome you to Arise America.
Thank you for having me.
It's nice to meet you. So you have 3 children. Your husband is African-American. You were born in Russia.
I was.
And you're Jewish.
I am.
And clearly white.
Very.
And you have these mixed race kids, one of whom is a teenager and is struggling with identity, as all teens do anyway.
Yes.
But let's start here, Alina. What are your hopes for him as it relates to his identity around race in our society?
Well, as of right now, my son, who is 15 years old, he identifies as being African American. His father is African American, and for me, as you said, I was born in the former Soviet Union, so I don't have an American identity. I have an identity as an immigrant, I have an identity as a Jew, but I don't have an American identity. So his true American identity is African American, and that's what he identifies as. Now, the issue that he faces is my son happens to be very light-skinned, he's blue-eyed, and there's people who don't agree with him on what his identity should be.
So interesting. So in other words, he doesn't necessarily, quote unquote, look African American. And so as I've read some of the things that you've written about the dilemmas that you face with your children, is that he almost gets it from both sides.
He does.
Yeah, he gets people who say he's not really black, but you want him to look more black?
Well, it's not so much what I want. What I want is irrelevant. He is who he is.
What you hope for him.
What I wish the world would be more open to, and that's obviously a very big wish, is to accept the fact that if he identifies as being African American, the fact that he may not fit some preconceived notion that they have of what African Americans should be would not be an issue.
What are some of the frustrations that he faces amongst his peers and the misunderstandings around his own ethnic heritage?
Well, he did a summer program this year which was specifically for minority children to learn how to be entrepreneurs. And what he got is a lot of, well, you're not really black. And his feeling was, who are they to tell me whether I'm black or not? And on the other hand, my husband, who, as you said, is African American, he said to him, look, people said that to me all the time because I spoke well, because I cared about my education. And he said, and I had 2 black parents, so you know what? Life is hard, suck it up.
Suck it up, yeah.
That was his take. But to give you a flip side of it, my son recently won the Martin Jenkins Award for Highly Gifted Black Students, which was given out last month at the Gifted Conference in Baltimore. And his school newspaper ran a little line about it, as they do about all students who win an award. And the kind of feedback that he got was, one kid in his class said to him, wow, I didn't realize you were black, that's cool. Can you sell me some drugs?
No, you're kidding.
So, yeah.
And so this brings up in him what kinds of conflicts
He's
and
very
struggles?
frustrated. To be honest, he said to me, I'm never doing another program for minority kids again. Because he said, I'm really tired of being told you're not black because either you speak well or you go to a selective high school or you don't look right or you have blue eyes or a myriad of other reasons. So right now, where we are at is he said, I'm not going to do it again.
Very interesting. Do white kids identify him as white?
You know what, they assume he's Jewish just because he is. And that's the fact, it's a silly thing to say, I assume, because the fact is he is Jewish and he is African American, and there's no dichotomy or conflict there, at least in my mind or in my husband's. You know, before we got married, we certainly talked about it. It wasn't something that we thought would just magically disappear. And we both decided that, yes, our kids would be Jewish and our kids would be African American, and we don't see a problem with that. Some people do.
Do you have hope, though, that some of these issues might dissolve a little bit as this country browns as it is?
You know, it's interesting. There's definitely sort of a trend towards the country browning. But, you know, it's interesting because skin tone, as we learn, is not really as important as culture. For one thing, is how people are brought up and how people see themselves. And the fact is that African Americans look at my son and they see that he's African American right away, no matter how light-skinned he is, how blue-eyed he is. White people might not.
It's that Jewish hair that he has.
Well, my brother-in-law was always asking him, is that an afro, is that a Jew-fro?
Unfortunately, this is such a fascinating topic, and it's going to become a bigger issue as more and more people just intermix. But we thank you so much for coming and sharing your experience. Alina Adams, appreciate it.
Thank you.